Alright, here are the worst parents ever, starting with David and Louise Turpin. The parents, David and Louise Turpin, had 13 children by the mid-1980s that they would torture for decades. The couple increasingly isolated their children, enforcing extreme control. They reportedly fed them once a day, allowed one shower per year, chained some to beds, and inflicted escalating physical punishments, including beatings with belts, and even confining kids in dog cages. Neighbors noticed the children rarely seen outside, appearing pale and unusually quiet. Despite these signs, no one ever called the cops on them. However, a critical turn came around January 14, 2018. The family was preparing to move to Oklahoma when 17-year-old Jordan Turpin seized her opportunity. She escaped through a window, weak and small enough to seem 7 years younger, and used a deactivated phone to call 911. Law enforcement arrived and made a harrowing discovery. 7 adult-aged siblings were found shackled and underweight, 7 of the 13 being adults aged 18 to 29. Yet so emaciated, they appeared children. Authorities noted chains and padlocks affixed to bunk beds. David and Louise were arrested on charges including torture, false imprisonment, child abuse, and a lewd act on a minor for David. Both pleaded not guilty initially and were held on $12 million bail each. The children, 6 minors and 7 adults, were taken to local hospitals where doctors confirmed severe malnutrition and multiple bruises and injuries. In the months that followed, legal proceedings gained momentum. In early 2018, Riverside County charged the Turpins with dozens of offenses, including torture and child abuse. David also faced perjury charges related to misrepresenting their homeschooling status. The couple was ordered to have no contact with their children. In April 2019, they each received sentences of 25 years to life in prison. After rescue, the siblings entered foster care. Unfortunately, a later scandal revealed that 6 siblings suffered further abuse at the hands of foster parents, including beatings with belts and sandals, and sexual misconduct. The foster guardians later pled guilty and received prison time, while the siblings filed a lawsuit alleging systemic failures of the foster system. Despite trauma, several survivors have pursued healing publicly. Sisters Jordan and Jennifer have spoken about their experiences, aiming for motivational work. Next is Raymond and Vanessa Jackson. In the early 2000s, Raymond and Vanessa Jackson of Collingswood, New Jersey, fostered and adopted multiple children that they would almost starve to death. However, on the morning of October 10, 2003, a neighbor alerted police that a frail kid was rummaging through trash for food. Responding officers discovered their kid named Bruce outside, barefoot, disoriented, weighing approximately 45 pounds, and standing only 4 feet tall. Inside the home were his equally malnourished brothers, Michael at 23 pounds, Terrell at 28 pounds, and Treshawn at 40 pounds. They all showed signs of extreme neglect, lice, distended bellies, and visible ribs. Authorities quickly removed the boys for emergency medical care. The Jacksons were charged with 8 counts of aggravated assault and 20 counts of child endangerment for depriving the boys of proper food and a sanitary environment. Raymond Jackson died from a stroke in November 2004 before the trial concluded. Vanessa Jackson pled guilty in February 2006, admitting to starving her children, and received a 7-year prison sentence, though reports indicate she served closer to 1 year. Following their rescue, the boys were eventually adopted by the Parrish family in 2010, with 3 being raised in Millville, New Jersey. By that time, they were thriving physically and emotionally, even holding a fundraiser and attending community events to mark their recovery. Moving on to Sarah Lloyd Jones and Alan Titford. In 2020, the parents would completely neglect their girl named Kaylia, born in 2004 with spina bifida and hydrocephalus that led her to be bound in a wheelchair. When the UK went into its first COVID-19 lockdown on March 23, 2020, Kaylia stopped attending school and her world rapidly deteriorated. Isolated at home and hidden from external oversight, her health spiraled within months. By mid-2020, both parents ignored mounting professional support. Social services and pediatric specialists, including offers from Birmingham Children's Hospital, had either been dismissed outright or never actually engaged. Kaylia was confined to her small, outgrown wheelchair until it became unusable, leaving her bedridden. Emergency responders later described maggots feeding on her body, flypaper stuck with flies, bottles of urine at her bedside, and rotting food containers everywhere from no one taking care of her. They would then find texts from Kaylia begging for help. Kaylia texted, "Can you come and check if I have pooed because it stinks?" Her mother replied, FFS. On the night of September 10th to 10th, 2020, Kayleigh was found dead in her bed. Paramedics and police found her lying naked among filth. She was morbidly obese at 146 kilograms with necrotic ulcers, untreated infections, and a body ravaged by immobility and neglect. Her death was officially attributed to inflammation and infection arising from obesity and its complications. Both were convicted of gross negligence manslaughter, the first such case in UK history where parents were prosecuted for failing to control a child's weight. During trial, the judge emphasized their sustained neglect, noting that they failed to keep Kayleigh mobile, clean, nourished, or medically supported, despite the obvious risks. On March 1st, 2023 at Swansea Crown Court, Alan received 7.5 years imprisonment and Sarah 6 years. Their sentences were later increased under the unduly lenient appeal to 10 years and 8 years respectively. Next is Jean K. Whitefeather and Donald Lance. The couple, both white and in their early 60s, had adopted 5 black kids, ranging in age from approximately 5 to 16, which they would treat as slaves. The family relocated to a rural property in Sissonville, West Virginia in May 2023, where they were made to perform physically demanding farm chores from dawn well into the evening. On October 2nd, 2023, a concerned neighbor alerted authorities after observing the oldest girl and her teenage brother locked inside a shed on the property for an extended period, while Donald Lance left them behind. Deputies forced entry into the shed using a crowbar, discovering a makeshift sleeping environment equipped with just a sleeping bag, non-working air conditioner, camping toilet, and a cooler. Inside the main residence, officers found a 9-year-old girl crying alone in an unsecured loft and another young child in soiled clothes, both victims of neglect. Additional searches revealed the eldest boy barefoot with sores, and all children reeking of body odor. They were promptly placed under the care of West Virginia Child Protective Services. Their criminal trial commenced on January 14, 2025, before Judge Mary Claire Akers in Kanawha County Circuit Court. Prosecutors charged them with forced labor, human trafficking, civil rights violations, child abuse, and gross neglect. The defense, led by Mark Plants and John Belenovich, claimed their clients were overwhelmed by the children's past trauma and behavioral challenges. During the trial, testimony from neighbors illustrated that Lance forced the children to haul heavy items such as fencing, propane tanks, and water across the farm, and that the children were subjected to verbal abuse evident from racist slurs used by Whitefeather. The eldest girl recounted how they were forced to stand with hands on their head for prolonged periods, limited to a sparse diet of peanut butter sandwiches, made to sleep on hard floors, denied proper toilet access apart from shared buckets, and compelled to remain in the shed. On January 29, 2025, after approximately 8 hours of jury deliberations, both defendants were found guilty. Whitefeather convicted on all 19 counts against her, Lance on 12 of 16 counts. Whitefeather received a sentence totaling 215 years in prison, while Lance was sentenced to 160 years. Each must also pay approximately $280,000 in restitution. Despite these lengthy terms, eligibility for parole remains after serving 40 years for Whitefeather and 30 years for Lance.